concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, everybody? Y'all ready to stream? Y'all ready to do some Q&A? Hello, I'm Joshua Bardwell, and you're going to learn something today. That's my goal. My goal is to help you learn stuff. And that's my goal when I make videos, obviously. But when we do a Q&A like this, it is specifically my goal to answer your actual questions right here tonight. That's what we're doing. But before we do that, before I start taking your questions, I just want to say thank you to everyone in the chat who likes my song. Before I chose this song, there were several other songs that I used that people didn't like. And as much as I'd like to say that, you know, it's my taste in music, I don't care. I do care. I care a little bit. I wouldn't be on YouTube if I didn't value external gratification, external validation. So I'm glad you guys like the music. We're going to stick with that song for a little while, at least until people start to get bored with it. What's in the... I know, Dope Johnny wants to know what's in the yellow box in the back. I actually put that there specifically so you would ask. I'll show you. Remind me in a minute after I do the intro. The intro. By the way, I saw... I forgot your name in the chat. Hello, if it's your first live stream. Hello, welcome. Welcome to my live stream. I am going to I.O., Sean Lee. People have been asking me if I'm going to... first question. Haven't done the intro yet. I am going to I.O. I wasn't going to go. And then Drew said, hey, me and Jeff and a couple other guys are going to get a camper and drive up from Orlando to I.O. Do you want to... you want us to swing through Knoxville and pick you up? And I'm like, how do you say no? You don't say no to that. So yeah, I'll be at I/O. I think we're gonna get there Thursday night. We're planning on leaving Sunday. We're not making like a whole, like, obviously we're not there to race, and I'm not even sure we have pilot passes. In fact, I'm not even sure we have tickets. Drew said he was taking care of it, but we're gonna be there one way or another. So yeah. I see a couple people asking. Yeah. Chat. Yeah. I see a couple people asking if my cat's okay. I guess you missed yesterday's stream. Unfortunately, no, my cat is not okay. But moving on. I appreciate you asking. My cat did not make it, unfortunately. So, thanks, MC's Creations. Now you feel MC's Creations now feels super awkward. Oh, ouch. No big deal. The volume seems low, says Travis Stevens. Travis, I don't think so. My stuff all looks like it ought to be. See, look over here. See right here, this little guy here? That's right where it needs to be, all mixed out. Now let's just double check, Travis Stevens. Just for you, buddy. Because I would hate to do the whole live stream with incorrect sound settings. Device properties, levels, 65. That's right where that needs to be. Okay, so we're good there. Hey, by the way, long as you... No. Come on. That's where it always is. It's where it always is, guys. See, here's the thing. If I start screwing with it now, boom, it's all over. You turn your volume up. You turn your volume up. Okay. So here's my screen. In case you're wondering, what's the deal? What's Joshua doing here? I got your chat right here. Right here's your questions in your chat, where you guys will ask me questions, and I'm going to answer as many of those questions as I can in the next couple hours. But obviously, so many of those questions are going to go by that I'm not going to be able to get them all. So if you want to have... Don't. Why? Don't. Oh my God. How do I... No! Stop! How do I... No! Kill me now! How do I... This is so bad. Now he's doing it on purpose. Alrighty. Well, that's frustrating. Hang on, I have to kill Skype. I gotta put myself as, is Skype dead? Is Skype gone? Thanks for that, BA. Now, when that first time that happened... No, how do you exit Skype, you son of a... The first time that happened, I assumed it was an accident. But now I'm pretty sure that he's watching the live stream, and he's out to get me. Skype, end task. Okay. You can set yourself as, yeah, no, don't do that. Come on, guys. No, right-click Skype quit doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's not there. Hi, Drew. How you doing, man? Welcome, Drew. Drew can call me. Drew, do you want to be on the live stream? You want to call me? Let me bring up Messenger. If Drew wants to call me and be on the live stream, I will always take a call from Drew. But he doesn't have to. He's a busy man. What was I... Oh, here's what I was saying. So, I got your questions right here. If you want to make sure your question gets answered, make sure your question gets noticed, go ahead and just hit that $, send a super chat, throw a couple bucks at me. See, Drew just sent me $2. Thank you. And then it'll get called out here. I'll definitely make sure to get it. Travis Stevens, yeah, the Q&A, throw your question. Travis, you're a novice just getting into the hobby. Throw a question at me, Travis. I'll do my best to answer it. Tom, if you want to make sure I don't miss your question, then just hit the $, throw a super chat at me, just like these fine folks are doing right now. And the other thing you can do, I got to get through this intro. The other thing you can do is this over here on the left is my Discord server. I do have a Discord server, and people always ask, well, how do I get on your Discord server? And the answer is you got to become a patron. That's how, I mean, that's just like, I do so much for everyone. Oh, here comes Drew. Accept. Hey, Drew.
Bardwell!
Hey, man, how you doing? You're on live stream.
I know, that's why I called. You said to call, so I did.
Oh, thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
It's Capper's here too. You get 2 for 1.
Oh my
Hey,
god.
Bardwell.
Oh my god. Hey, Capper, how are you, man?
Good. How
Hold on one second.
all right.
No. Oh, how did Skype get restarted? How?
It's
This is so
funny.
annoying.
No, it's
How?
wonderful.
I killed it. I'm sorry. How do you set yourself as offline in Skype?
You have
How
to go
do
to
you
the
do
BIOS.
it? I just want
Uninstall
to be do not disturb. Do not disturb.
Uninstall.
You have to reset the mainframe.
I killed the app. Okay, anyway. Yeah, so if you want to become a patron, you can join my Discord server. Okay, let's start the show. Well, gosh, Drew Camden and Chad Capper are here. I wasn't expecting to have any guests, but how you guys doing tonight?
We're good. We're on our way to Miami to watch Alex Vanover compete in his first DRL race.
Yeah, that's a very interesting topic. So in case the chat doesn't know, Alex Vanover won a spot on DRL and has been talking immense. Like, Alex always is full of himself, but he's been talking so much smack lately. Basically, and I've been like, Alex, tone it down. Alex has been like, I mean, this is not a direct quote, but he's been like, Nurk, slow. Gap, all those other pilots, slow. And I've been like, dude, tone it down. And he's like, no.
No, he doubles down.
Yeah, every time you tell him that, he doubles down.
Yeah.
So it all gets, we get to see. Because
Yeah.
if he loses, it's very embarrassing and everyone hates him because he's a cocky jerk who doesn't deserve it. If he wins, he's king. If you talk that much crap and then win.
Yeah, who was the baseball player that pointed the bat to where he was going to hit the home run?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Babe Ruth.
Yeah, sports ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vanover's like a sports ball player.
He said, to be fair, it might take him one race to kind of get the groove. So if he doesn't win in Miami, then he will technically have an out. But now you guys are going down there to watch him race. What day is the race?
Tomorrow night.
So, but you won't be able to like publish the race because they record it for TV, right?
Yeah, it'll be weeks before we can say anything or before it's published. So
all you need to do is look at Drew's face.
Troy Castles in the chat says Jet is too fast. Now, here's Alex's argument. He says, how many of the DRL pilots have podiumed at a multi-GP event? Ooh. Not many. I mean, I think Nurk sees podiums pretty regularly.
Yeah, Nurk is pretty darn.
Well, he's the DRL champion.
Yeah.
And Nurk is the only one saying like, yeah, I'm nervous about Vanover.
Ooh.
Nurk's a realist. Everybody
We're not
else
nervous. I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but I don't know how exactly he phrased it.
Wait, what is this live stream about?
I do
usually
Q&A.
helps people.
I help people. It's what I do, Chad.
Are you helping them right now?
They're learning things.
Well, right now they're entertained. I also sometimes entertain people.
Are you not entertained?
Snapshot Hotshot Inc. asks, why did Alex Vanover switch to Futaba? I'm going to give you the real... How? How is he still calling me? I'm gone past annoyed and into mystified.
Wait,
like, I really swear to God. I swear to God.
Did your Skype ring?
I swear I've killed Skype. I killed it. And I set myself as offline.
Uninstall it.
I'm not gonna do that here.
Wait,
while
PC,
I'm streaming. Right? Skype is dead. I am on a PC.
Can you go into your task manager?
That's what I'm literally doing this minute. I already did that. At this point, it's just funny. Okay. Wow. Anyway, somebody, I forget who, asked why did Vanover switch from Spectrum to Futaba. The Futaba makes a hell of a good radio, so I'm sure that played into it. But he's sponsored by them. So, I mean, the fact that they pay him money to use their radio probably factors into it.
Well, yeah.
But he also genuinely likes it. He likes it.
I know, he does. He does.
Great
but here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm saying. If Spectrum had paid him enough money, he would have kept running Spectrum.
Maybe.
No?
I don't know.
He was
never heard-
legitimate.
Seriously, all speculating about Alex.
What else are we going to talk about?
What else?
Alex,
Why
it's
not?
the most interesting thing.
Here's the thing. He was super, super annoyed at the IX-12 in a lot of ways, very vocally. I mean, I'm not like spilling. I'm not talking
I
out of
think
school.
the
here.
IX-12 killed it for him because it's kind of a pain. I love mine. I love my IX-12, but people are like, "Oh, would you recommend it?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I love it, but you might not, but I love it."
Yeah. And he's pretty much a straight up pilot. He's not like a nerd like me. Like I would hate to run a Futaba because it doesn't run OpenTX, and I can't it does everything he needs. I think. So.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna get to answering questions. So if you guys want to stick around and answer questions, you're welcome to.
Yeah,
but
I got all kinds of questions for you.
no, not you're gonna answer questions. I don't want you to ask questions.
We'll stick around for a couple questions and then we'll.
All right. Anybody who has questions for Drew or Chad are welcome to put a question in the chat. Got some super chats coming in. I will get the super chats in a minute, but I always make sure to take some questions from the plebs down in the poor people's chat before I go to the super chat. So. Suet asks, can you tell me more about Betaflight 4.0 compatible issues with Smart Audio 2.1? Betaflight 4.0 is not compatible with Smart Audio 2.1 right now. It means that if you've got one of the new Unify video transmitters like the Evo, Smart Audio doesn't work. It's supposed to be fixed in 4.1, and the workaround now is you either hook the Smart Audio directly to your Crossfire receiver if you're using Crossfire, or it's possible that it works with soft serial. If possible, some people have told me if you do soft serial and do Smart Audio that way, it works. I haven't confirmed that.
Wait, Smart Audio is removed from Betaflight? What?
No, Betaflight isn't compatible with Smart Audio 2.1. TBS updated it.
Okay.
Betaflight didn't update it. So
yeah, but they're going to.
There's a ton of questions for Drib and Chad. When is Rotorite coming to Ireland? Phoenix, a million different cities. Are you ever coming back to Hesperia? Any thoughts about whether via quad camp or whatever? Any travel plans you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, oh boy, that's a tough one.
We never know.
Yeah, right now we're going through some transitions. I think once we're through that, we'll be able to solidify more schedules. If that helps.
Yeah.
I mean,
what does it take? Go ahead.
I'd say Hesperia is pretty likely because we're good friends with Xhover, and with Xhover being out there, it's always been a really convenient place. I mean, we would be happy to go anywhere and everywhere. So if there's, accommodations provided that can, provide for a quad camp or whatever we need to do, it just makes it a lot easier. But I mean, we love to. You want us to come to Ireland? Buy us plane tickets. I was gonna say
that's what it comes down to. The Rotorite trip to Croatia, for example. Why did Rotorite decide to go to Croatia? Because Orca said, "Hey, do you guys want to come to Croatia?" And it's kind of like a little quid pro quo, We get a trip to Croatia. We make some great content, awesome content, really. Some of the best. That 5 dive gap was incredible. And on the flip side,
is just the most interesting.
They get a little exposure. So. The quad camp model we hoped to spin into something that would let us get out more. The short version is that we weren't able to kind of make the numbers work on that. But if you want us to come to Ireland, at the end of the day, we need plane tickets to Ireland. Start agitating. Find a company in Ireland who wants to shoot a Rotorite episode with us, and we'll come out there as long as we're out there.
Like I said, it worked really well with the Orca thing. I mean, they were happy. They were trying to get you to come right the very next week. They were like, that was great. Let's do it again. When are you coming next week? So, it worked. Sometimes it works out.
Okay. Will FPV, same question. Quad camp, whatever. We have no quad camps on the schedule right now. When this transition period that Chad referred to, I assume related to the acquisition, when that passes, things may change. Money situation may change, etc. I'm just speaking for myself here, not for Chad as the host of the show, but not as anyone official. But I know we really enjoyed doing quad camps, and I think everybody's disappointed that we're not in a position to be doing them regularly now.
Maybe we could do one in Florida.
Right, Florida's easy.
just because Quad Camp isn't existing as it did, we still have a strong desire, and we will be doing a lot with education.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
education is not moving down and prioritizing. We're just
Yeah.
reorganizing.
Right. At the end of the day, we don't want to spend money we don't have to put on events that don't make money. I mean, that's just not sustainable. That's not sustainable.
It just slows down the entire initiative. So once we figure out how to make
Okay.
it more sustainable, and
Yeah.
we will grow back into that.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Drew, what's your hair color right now?
It's purple.
Purple. Yep, Australia. Is Rotor Riot picking up Vic FPV? Is Vic going to be a Rotor Riot pilot?
I would love to meet Vic. We've never had him on the show. I've never met him in person. And
Wait, did we ever met him at I.O.?
I've never. If I have, I feel really bad, but I haven't.
Let me
Well, it's
let
weird.
me
I
ask you
mean,
this: what's the single biggest reason that the average person would not cut it as a Rotor Riot pilot? Either personality, logistical.
Attitude.
Because everybody asks, how do you get to be a pilot? I'm going to flip the question.
Yeah,
What's
so
stopping? Attitude.
Number one deal killer is attitude.
Tell me more about that.
I mean, I'm sure it's a little bit different for me and Drew, and ultimately Drew makes the call. I did in the old days, but
Back when it was good.
Ouch.
No, but I think we probably share this. It's you gotta want it. Like people that play coy, it's never gonna work. Like I mean, I look back at my career and the opportunities that I got. I asked for them, and not only did I ask for them, I was glad to prove myself.
Yeah, I mean, on
Interesting.
my first trip with Rotor Riot, by the second to last day, I was like, Chad, I want to be a Rotor Riot pilot. I want to do this more. And it wasn't a yes, but we kept talking.
One thing I notice about people who have made it onto the show is that oftentimes they are sort of floating around, like they know somebody or they're connected. There's people we've met through quad camps. It's very seldom that we would see somebody on like YouTube and go, "Oh, that guy, let's get him," because we just don't know the person.
Yeah.
But like you look at somebody like TAC FPV, and I'm not saying he is or isn't going to be a like an official cast member, but I think he was in
famous TAC. Are you talking about the famous TAC?
The first thing he did is he came, he got to know me. He came out to quad camp. He started getting to know people. Once people get it's not like it's a hard bar. You just got to kind of get to know people and be cool, but you got to get there first. And that's
or
a
our
real
new
challenge.
Our new summer intern, he came to he came to both the California quad camps, and now he's interning for the summer. He just started 2 days ago. 2 days ago.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Yeah.
I see a question. Best D16 receiver for FreeSky. I think it's the RXSR because it has telemetry. But if you don't want telemetry, the XM Plus is about $5 cheaper. I mean, I could chat with you guys all night, but I do want to take some questions.
No, you do your job.
UAV Tech points out in the chat, like every gig, take the position before it's yours. Chad said this about Drew. Yeah, it sucks to say in order to get a job, you got to do it for free. But when there is a job that is in high demand, the number one way you can get noticed is to show that you can do it. I was watching an episode of Smart. Wow, it's still there. It came back. BA. It's not funny. It's not funny. It's just annoying. I'm sorry. It's gone. I'm on Do Not Disturb. It's still coming through. I don't know why. You can keep doing it. It's not going to get funnier. I'm not going to get more annoyed. Let's see if I sign out. If that does it. It's not. It's just. It's over, dude. It's over. Let it go. I was watching an episode of Smarter Every Day, and he was trying to document building a grain silo. And in order to keep the workers who are assembling the grain silo on a schedule from saying, get out of our way, he asked him, what's the job that you guys hate the most? And then he went and did it. And it's like, yes, that's a great approach.
Yeah, carries over to everything. I mean, even business. Like, if you want to have a successful business, do the thing everybody else says sucks.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a very successful business because your competition naturally stays out of the way.
Yep.
I mean, if people think it's easy to have a online store and produce a high quality series on the same budget another store would have, it's not
Yeah.
easy.
Yep. We got a bunch of super chats here. I'm going to go ahead and grab some of these super chats. Toolmaker Dave, thanks for $5. No question. Dan Zabinski, $2. Your ESC with Rotor Riot control, no video noise. Talon F7, unusable? Yes? I'm so sorry you didn't decide. I guess, I don't know. I need more letters, Dan Zabinski. You're using my ESC with the Riot control. No video noise. That's good. Talon F7, unusable? I'm sorry, Dan.
I think you're saying that the same ESC worked well with the Riot control, but not the Talon.
Talon F7 is unusable. Why? Oh, the Y is Y, not the Y is yes. Talon F7 is unusable. Well, you switched flight controllers, and maybe the filtering is different on the flight controller. Whenever you've got, let's talk about video noise in general, Dan. Whenever you've got video noise, the first thing I do is I change how I'm powering the video transmitter and the camera. So if I'm powering them from VBAT, I move it to regulated power. If I'm powering them from regulated power, I move it to VBAT. If the video transmitter has a 5-volt output, then I move the camera to the video transmitter's 5-volt output. And a lot of times you'll find a thing that fixes it while shuffling that around. You can also remove the SMA connector. If your SMA connector is touching your frame, sometimes that'll cause a ground loop that causes the issue. There are a lot of different steps to fixing video noise. Those are some of them.
Wait, I have a question on that. Why is that? I have never had that happen, and I hear that you're having the SMA touching carbon could create an issue, and I'm like, it shouldn't. It never has for me. Why is that a thing? What
it does is it creates a ground loop. So ground loop occurs anytime you have parallel paths to ground. And if the resistance of the parallel paths to ground is different, then you'll have current flow. You'll have a voltage difference between them and current flow between them, and that can cause video noise is the gist of it.
So you would need to have another ground touching the frame too or something?
Well, the frame is pretty much always going to get ground from somewhere. There's almost always somewhere that the frame is going to get ground, probably multiple places. But the SMA connector is a very, very common place, and oftentimes it doesn't cause a problem, but sometimes it does. So
fascinating.
Matthew Raska, thanks for $5. Flew my first 5-inch today. Wouldn't have built it, got it going if it wasn't for you and other people like you. Thank you, Matthew. Thanks for $5. Sagittarius, for $4.40, dude. I would love to support you more, but struggling. I wish I could refund your $4, dude. Don't ever struggle to throw money at me. Just take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of your pets. Your $4, I mean, I appreciate your donation. I don't want to disrespect it, but if you're struggling, definitely take care of yourself. Wolfram van Dobschutz, thank you for €10. How do I set up audio motor sound on the Holy Broke Opus 2 Rotor Riot SE? I've got the steel earbuds and Viper goggles. All I hear is static. Wolfram, I am not 100% sure if that VTX has audio. Let's check that. Holy Bro, Addle HVV2. I'm still looking for any particularly good questions for Drew or Chad if they come in, since they're still here. So I'm looking at this. Why there we go. I'm looking at this VTX. Yeah, it does have a mic. So here's a mic. So the VTX should be sending audio from that built-in mic. So Wolfram, if you're not hearing audio, my first thought is that maybe your receiver module. So the way the audio works is there's a left and a right channel of audio, but most VTXs only send either the left or the right, and most modules only listen to either the left or the right. So most of the time it works, but if you happen to have gotten unlucky and have a module that is listening on the right channel and the VTX is transmitting on the left, then maybe that could be the problem. Unfortunately, I don't have a ton of more info to give you. I can tell you the VTX is definitely supposed to be sending audio. Other than that, Viper goggles, you definitely want to make sure you're plugged into the right port on the goggles, and yeah, those are some possibilities. I can tell you the VTX should be sending audio. Awal FPV, thank you for $10. Volatronics, Thanks for 666, no question. JTFPV, thanks for $5. What's your most favorite 5-inch frame? My favorite 5-inch frame right now is the Armatan Marmot the Ladrib Skyliner.
Hey!
No, it's the Armatan Marmot with the classic carbon, not the space grade carbon. So,
Hey, Bardwell, have a good live stream. Thanks for having us on.
have a good drive, dude. Have fun in Miami. Thanks for coming on.
Talk
I'll
to you
let
later.
you guys
Hey,
go.
see you in a couple days.
Yep, at IO.
Yeah, man. See you soon.
Alrighty.
Thanks,
Later,
Barbara.
guys.
Talk to you
Bye.
guys later.
Thomas Kincannon, thanks for $2. Vampire 49.97, thanks for $1. And Ladrib, thanks for $2. What's the future of quads over 250 grams, especially in urban environments with lots of controlled airspace? Asks Really FPV. Well, Really FPV, if we in the U.S. look to countries like Canada and Europe, I got to tell you, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. I think that if you're flying under 250 grams, you've got to feel kind of good that you're probably going to duck a lot of legislation. But if you're over 250 grams, I mean, I couldn't tell you what the future is, but I think it's a given that there's going to be more regulation than there is today. I think that's a given. How to fix RSSI when it reads 09 instead of 99% on the Bardwell board. Ivory Viking, it's going to depend on how you're getting RSSI into the flight controller, whether you're doing analog RSSI or whether you're doing an aux channel. If you're doing an aux channel, as you would with like the RxSR, then the next thing I would do is make sure that the aux channel is going from 0 to 1,000. So since the RSSI is based on the aux channel, you got to then make sure that the aux channel is moving too. So Travis Martinez says the DVR gets audio on the Copus. That's for sure. Just not hearing it in the goggles. Let's go over to the Discord. We got the super chats out of the way. We got some regular chats out of the way. Let's give some love to the patrons over in the Discord. If you're wondering how to get onto my Discord server, you can do that by joining my Patreon. Once you join the Patreon, you get an invite to the server. It's one of the very, very few things I reserve exclusively for patrons. But that's so let's show some love to them. Jim Bubba wants to know, I have a Helio spring that I really want to use for a build. What should I flash it with? Butterflight, Pegasus, Betaflight? Any recommendations would be appreciated. Jim Bubba, there are no more Betaflight. That's not true. Someone could be doing Betaflight builds for Helio. I know the Betaflight devs aren't. So what's the latest? I mean, is Butterflight still being updated? Let's do a little Google search. That's where I always start. Let's look. Helio RRC, Helio LLC, IMUF, Pegasus, IMUF release, iNav, Pegasus. Let's see. Where is Butterflight here? There's Betaflight. Oh wow, what's that? Releases. Let's see what's in the releases. 324. Well, that's old. So let's not mess with that. Pegasus, they updated when 0 releases. Target device you must install. I don't know, man. How about Butterflight? Where's I don't know, man. I feel like some people are out there still releasing code updates for Helio, but release Betaflight 354, 356. So we're not to 4.0 yet. Here is, I'll tell you what, if I were in your exact situation, I would probably flash this, because this is like the first bin of the hex file that I was like really able to find. So I guess that's what I would flash. There you go. Bud wants to know, yesterday you mentioned having a screen on a tripod for spectators. What screen would you recommend? That's a good question. I mean, I think that Race Day Quads has a cheap one. Let's see, LCD screen. Yeah, so it's $70. So here's a monitor from 4.3 inch. That's pretty small, but I guess it would get the job done for $70. LCD monitor. It's been a little while since I shopped for one. Here's a 5-inch for $90. They're pretty expensive. I kind of liked the idea somebody had of buying a goggles like a FXT Viper and just using that or taking the screen out of it. Yeah, let's see, Get FPV got any good ones? Oh, 10-inch monitor for $150. That's pretty nice. Oh, that's too expensive. You don't need that. That's overkill. 5-inch for $85. Yeah, that's probably where I would go. 8-inch for $100. Oh, this looks like the sweet spot right here. 8-inch for $100. That looks like a pretty sweet spot. 800 by. So I'd check the specs, but yeah, something like that probably where I'd go. Let's see here. Chamber points out that those DRL quads weigh like 2 times as much as the quads that Vanover's used to racing. Might take him a bit to get used to it. That's true, Chamber, but Vanover has posted some video. They gave him one of those quads to practice with, of course, and he's posted some video of him flying it, and he is honestly tearing it up. So we should try to call Vanover. He's probably busy. Let's see. Okay. All right, there we go. There's some, what do you think? Oh, Von Zek, well, you did it now, buddy. Von Zek asks, what do you think about the Arum Polar manufacturer's response? Oh, Dope Johnny wants to know about the box. I'll get that next. You guys see that I tested the Arum Polar antenna with Alex Grieve, and we found we found some things out about it, but the manufacturer posted a response, and they said, so this is interesting. If you don't know, Arum Polar is an antenna from TBS, and everybody I know who knows about RF has been kind of confused about like what are they trying to say it does. So here is the response from after I posted my video. This guy posted a response saying, well, it's a ring slot antenna with patented MIMO feed. It receives every kind of signal, right hand, left hand, every angle in between. So to claim that the antenna is circular is correct, which is what Alex and I said. We tested it and found it looked like it was circular polarized. But the antenna elements are linear, yada, yada, yada. But, so then I was like, well, that doesn't actually help, because if it receives all polarizations equally, then doesn't that mean that it won't reject multipath? But it doesn't really matter, because the next thing that happened is this. This comment got posted later. We thought the receiver used Wi-Fi-like beamforming. No, it turns out it doesn't. In other words, there were those of us who said, this looks like somebody took a MIMO antenna from like a digital transmission system and has mistakenly tried to apply it to FPV. But the problem is that FPV is not a MIMO system, so using a MIMO antenna will not have the desired effect. And now basically the guy who made the antenna says, oh yeah, wait a minute, we didn't know that FPV wasn't using MIMO. No, this antenna isn't used. This antenna is used for MIMO systems. So basically I think this says that the people who questioned whether the antenna designers like knew what was going on, I think this says we were right. Okay. Mr. Tuck says maybe somebody will make a goggle that uses MIMO. The problem is, in order to use MIMO, you need a dual stream transmitter as well as receiver. So if you look at Connex ProSight, if you look at the ProSight receiver, or transmitter, it has multiple antennas. That's a MIMO system. All the digital systems are MIMO systems. But analog systems, you have a single transmitter. They can never be MIMO because MIMO is multiple out. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean it's a bad antenna, by the way. It could still be a good antenna, but the point is that for you to know whether it's a good antenna for your application, you have to know what it does. And what we found is that the antenna seems to be both left and right hand polarized. And what that means is if you use it in a high multipath environment, it doesn't seem like it could be good at rejecting multipath bounces. In fact, it seems like it will be particularly good at picking up multipath bounces. What I think you should do if you have that antenna is use it with a linear antenna on your quad. I haven't tested this. This is just a speculation. Because if you have a linear antenna on your quad and a circular antenna on your goggles, you'll get a small amount of loss, but not too much. And that way there's no, but it still will be, I think, worse in a multipath environment. So. Kanga FPV says, I have an Eachine trash can that falls out of the sky unexpectedly. Do you have any thoughts why this is happening? Yeah, Kanga FPV, there's a bug in the Crazy Bee boards that are used on the trash can. Go into the Betaflight configuration tab, turn off telemetry. That's the answer. That'll fix it. All right, let's do the box. Let's do the box. Somebody wants to know about the box. And of course, I put the box back there because I wanted you guys to ask about it, obviously. I'm making a video about this. This is pretty freaking slick. Look at this. It's a charging system in like a OtterBox kind of case. It's pretty freaking slick. You can plug in a battery. Like if you have a 6S battery, you can it's got a power supply in it. You can plug in 120 mains, and it's got a little ISDT, and it's got my logo on it. That's what it is. It's pretty cool. It's a DIY. You have to build it yourself. I'm almost ready to hit the go button on the video. The company that makes this kit is Turtle Laboratories. I'll paste the link in here. They were kind enough to send me. Basically, they sell you this cutout plate, and they sell you the hardware you need to mount everything up and the balance board. But you have to assemble it all, solder it up, do all the wiring yourself. So it's kind of cool. The reason I did it is that they have a Bach grinder. Look, oh, he added it after yesterday's live stream. He was paying attention. I complained in yesterday's live stream that they hadn't put me on there yet. So they got a Bach grinder logo that you can get, just like you saw on my logo. And now you can get my logo too. There you go. So yeah, if you're interested in that, it is, yeah, it's about $90. I mean, that doesn't include the charger. Oh, if you want to do that, oh, it really adds up. It really adds up. Like if you give you all of the little, how much does it add up to if you have them give you all of the odds and ends? I mean, it's a fair price. The case alone is like $25 if you buy it yourself. Yeah, so what does that come to? Add to cart. Hello. Add on view cart and checkout. Let's see what it comes to. All told, everything. Lid kit. I don't need the lid kit. $55 for the lid kit? Really? Oh, that's the, I see. Never mind, my bad. Yeah, wow. So it comes to $200. $260 if you add you got to add the ISDT as well. So it is not cheap. It is not cheap. You got to really want it, but it is a really nice piece of kit, and it's got my logo on it. All right, that's what it is. Yeah, Bach Grinder reviewed this as well. I'm working on an assembly video. Oh, that's, yeah. Rocket on the Discord, yeah, charger not included. So, I mean, here's the thing, guys. If you don't like the price, then you can buy just the lid kit for $55. And every single other thing you see here, you could get yourself. But they're not actually marking this stuff up as much, right? If you go to Amazon and look at this stuff, okay, never mind. I'm sorry, I take that back. $8 for a set of Banana Jacks is, but here's the thing. You're going to buy hang on. So $8 for a set of Banana Jacks, that's marked up, right? You might pay $1 or $2 for those yourself, but you're going to buy a bag of 5 of them, then you're going to have a bunch of spares and you're going to pay $10 for it. So this XT60, $3 for a single XT60 is kind of a markup, but it's going to cost you $7 to buy a bag, and you're going to have a bunch you don't need. If you buy all this stuff yourself, you're probably not going to come out very much ahead. That's just how much all this crap costs. And if that's what you want, like this, yeah. Wait, is that Is that for all of this stuff? So wait, hang on a second. Plus $3, yes. But then it's got... I can't decide if it's $90 including all that stuff or not. The cart's a little confusing. Oh, anyway. Well, anyway. Yada, yada, yada. There you go. Rocket in the Discord asks, what are your thoughts on Underground FPV and Nirvana with their recent lack of customer response and firmware developments? Yeah, so Underground FPV makes the Nirvana. It's a very nice radio. You may have noticed I haven't been pushing the Nirvana really hard lately. And one of the reasons is that I hear from people who are having trouble getting support from Underground FPV. And when I talk about products, I don't just recommend them based on the product, but I try to take into account the whole experience. Underground FPV recently had a fire. I think it was in actually Warwick's house. I'm not actually 100% sure the details. But when I asked him recently what I should say to customers who are saying that they were having trouble getting support, he said basically there were still operations were being disrupted because of the fire. So yeah, I don't know. As a customer, you're probably like, okay, but I bought this product and now I need it. So I hope that they recover. Frankly, even before the fire, people were complaining. So I kind of don't 100% believe that it's just because of the fire that Underground FPV is a little non-responsive. Because, yeah. Yeah, MC's Creation says, is it still on fire? No. Yeah, his house. I mean, I feel bad for the guy that his house burnt down. At the end of the day, if you're still running a business, some disruption is understandable, but I think it's been like weeks, and it's like, okay, if you're gonna have a company, you gotta be able to survive those things, or you've just been punched on the jaw, and that could be it. But based on the current state of the company, it's hard for me to be too enthusiastic about recommending that you get one of the radios, especially because I hear from at least one person who says they paid for the radio and then it hasn't shipped and they don't know what to do. So Mr. Tux says, so does that explain Banggood? Has their house been burning down for the last 5 years ago? Oh, okay. Let's see here. Yeah, the Nirvana is really, really good hardware. Underground FPV seems to have struggled to then support it fully. With firmware updates, there have been times when they've been pushing firmware updates out pretty regularly. Then they seem to stall. Yeah. Herbie FPV, I'm not sure. Yeah, why the FreeSky dev, the dev being on FreeSky's payroll. It means that OpenTX is not as aggressively developing for the Nirvana, I guess is what you're saying. Let's get some super chats out of the way. Ralpha, thank you for $10. The FC and ESCs flash to the newest version. Alignment of FC, ESC, and motors correct. Motors still act crazy upon throttle. Seems like a flyaway. Not sure where to go from here. Ralpha, there's basically 4 things you need to check when your quad is what it does is sometimes it goes boop like that, and sometimes it goes bump, right? Like a little yaw wiggle, and then disarms and shuts down. It's one of 4 things. A clockwise prop is on a counterclockwise motor, or vice versa. A motor is spinning the wrong direction. Your motors are mapped wrong. The motor order is incorrect. The position of the motor is wrong. Or the board alignment is wrong. And I know you say you've checked these things. One thing, you got to check each of them very carefully. Don't go from memory, like when checking motor direction and motor order. Definitely look at the diagram in the upper left-hand corner of the motors tab, right? Don't just be like, yeah, no, I know. Motor number 1 is the back right. Because sometimes Betaflight's configuration changes that. Check each of the sliders one by one. These are the things to check. Rafa, if you need more help with that, go ahead and email me for $10. That's the kind of thing we need to kind of dig in on. For a $10 super chat, I definitely want to make sure you get this solved, but I'm not sure how much more we could do right here on the live stream. Lucas Pudzemis, thank you for €2.29. I will not be adopting you, though. No offense. MC's Creations, thanks for 5 hey eyes. I will probably adopt a cat eventually, but right now I'm still sort of mourning the loss of my cat. So, yeah. Miguel Iniguez, thanks for $2. After a wreck from Full Throttle, no video, flight controller or VTX. Well, Miguel, at least we know what happened, and that's you crashed, and now something done broke. So we got to just back off and start from scratch. If you plug in and the flight controller doesn't power up, get your multimeter out. See if it's getting power from the XT60. Measure the voltage. Check all the wiring. Redo the wiring. Test it with a multimeter to see if the voltage is there. I don't think you broke your flight controller, your VTX, and your camera all at once. But you just got to get your multimeter out. Test for voltage. Make sure everything is getting power. If it's getting power and it's still not powering up, then it might be broken and you need to replace it. Yep. Really, and by the way, I always say that to people, and sometimes they go, but I don't have a multimeter. Get a multimeter. They're like $10, the cheap ones. It's good enough. Joseph Sutton, why is your Micro Eagle not working good with your rapid fire? What's not working good? I use Micro Eagle on all my quads and use them with rapid fire, and I have good results. I'm not saying, I mean, what's going wrong with yours? Krishtar wants to know my FPV camera recommendation. Funny you ask that. Anytime you wonder, what does Joshua recommend? Of course, you can reach out to me and I'll help you, but I have the ultimate FPV shopping list here at my website. It's the perfect time for me to do a little plug where I have recommended products in all the categories, almost all the categories. I still don't have backpacks up. And so if we want to know about cameras, we can go to quadcopter parts. Nope, that's under FPV. My bad. It's my website. You'd think I would know that. FPV cameras. And we got some recommended FPV cameras. Caddx Turbo Micro F2. Foxeer Aero Micro Pro. Micro Eagle, of course. Micro Swift, if you want, if you're a traditionalist, and the Caddx Ratel. I think right now the ones that stand out to me the most, I mean, I'm trying to kind of cover all the bases here, is for me, the Micro Eagle is my favorite, but not everybody likes it. And the other one I would definitely have you look at is the Ratel, which has really good image quality, almost as good, maybe better than the Eagle, according to some people, but the build quality is not quite as good. Little bit of issue with sometimes the lens isn't focused from the factory. For example, and then the other one is the Foxeer Aero Micro Pro is like $20, and that's the cheapest camera that's actually worth looking at. It's a really decent camera for $20. So if you just need to get in the air, that's a good time to do it. 661 FPV, yeah, of course I recommend my own camera. I mean, I don't recommend it because it's mine. It's mine because I like it. I never put my name on a product that I don't actually, believe in. So, yeah, so that's a little plug. And we updated the website. I actually updated the website just yesterday, adding, people wonder how often I update it. I leave, for example, the Wizard's been on here forever, but I mean, the Wizard just is still right there. That's it's just an old standby. But I just added the Diatone GT R349. I've been flying the 6S version of this and loving it. It's so freaking good. So I added that recently. So anyway, there you go. We'll plug for my website there. Really FPV, thanks for $2. Dan Zabinski. I usually don't do one-on-one troubleshoots, Dan. I occasionally do it if it feels interesting or if it's going to make a good video. However, Dan, the reason I don't do one-on-one troubleshoots is not because I don't want to help you. It's because me sitting on a Skype call with you for 45 minutes or an hour and a half is actually a really inefficient way of solving your problem. Most of the time when someone says, hey, do you do a one-on-one troubleshoot? I say, what's the problem you're having? And they tell me, and then I make a suggestion. And usually we're able to solve it over email or over chat. And that just takes me 3 seconds to go, okay, what's the next thing this guy should try? It's a much more efficient use of my time, and I'm able to help more people. Thank you for $5, Toolmaker Dave. Propsoft wants to know why most racers use the RunCam Swift. It's a good question, Propsoft. I know that racers prefer low latency cameras, but the Swift isn't the lowest latency camera out there. A lot of racers like the high contrast image of the CCD sensor on the Swift. Another thing is, I was talking to Evan Turner, and he pointed out that at a night race he was at, everyone using CMOS cameras was having trouble with like the lights blowing out the camera and not being able to see the gates. Even he said the Eagle was the best one, but still not as good as like the Swift. So those are some reasons. I'm not sure though. No Jello says license to drive in CCD. Amal Lee says, is there a universal TX module for my FlySky Nirvana that will fly FreeSky, DSMX, and FlySky protocols? Yeah, the I believe you're looking for something like this. It's the iRange X IRX4 multi-protocol module. This is one of the multi-protocol modules that are out there, and I'm 99% sure it does FreeSky, Spectrum, and FlySky in addition to a whole bunch of others. Here's the let's look what other multi-protocol modules are out there. Let's see. It's the iRange X. That's pretty much the one, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So that's the one I would be looking at if I were you. What's cheaper, buying a quad or assembling it yourself? Asks Jovares Zigmatas. Well, usually buying it. Usually buying it. But then you got to build it. Let's see here. Beast Class in the Discord wants to know, are there any primary causes for desync? Beast Class, on a typical 4S build, ESCs should really never desync unless they're damaged. Now, a lot of times when people have anything that causes a death roll, they call it a desync. But desync means that like the ESC failed to be able to commutate the motor and spin the motor. So if your idle speed is too low and then you do a flip, and at the end of the flip, one of the motors goes to idle and can't start up again because it's just bogged down, I wouldn't call that a desync. That's your idle speed's too low. So there are things that can cause a death roll that aren't technically desyncs. The place where I most often see like desyncs are maybe 6S builds if you don't have a capacitor, because as you go higher in voltage, the noise spikes get worse, and especially on larger quads like Beast Class and X Class quads, you can start to get true desyncs. But in general, you shouldn't get desyncs on modern ESCs and motors. Von Zeck wants to know about my Axie setup. So here, I wanted to do a little plug here. Lumineer has released a new version of their Axie antenna. It's the Axie 2. And they've updated the design of the antenna. More on that in a second. It also looks a little cooler. It's a little more durable than before. And I really like the fact that they have these guys with the integrated right angle adapter. Very slick. Of course, it comes in UFL, MMCX, and so on. And I have been running them on my goggles now. So if you look right here, you can see I've been running dual on my goggles. And some people ask, well, how is that? Now, I've been running dual Omnis on my goggles for a while now. But I had been running Omnis with, like, they stick up a little bit more. And I was curious as to what difference I would see going to these stubby Omnis right here on the goggles. And I do think I noticed a difference. I do think I noticed some slight reduction in range compared to having them sticking straight up. I think it might be worth it. I haven't quite decided yet. To have the stubbies on there, it's so compact and easy to deal with. Like, sometimes with the antenna sticking up, if I like duck under a tree branch as I'm getting my quad, the antenna hits the tree branch and knocks the goggles off my head, which is annoying. Well, the stubbies don't do that. So I do think if you're going to run stubbies like this, you are going to get some reduction in range compared to longer antennas, especially if you're looking at a longer antenna like this guy here. Okay. Yeah, I see people running these on their goggles. Yeah, that's not compact. This sticks way up above your head, and it does improve range. It's true, but it's kind of unwieldy. But it's a good trade-off for a lot of people, and maybe worth thinking about. One of the things I noticed they changed about the new Luminaire Axie V2 is that they have higher gain, 2.2 dBIC gain, and they say significantly improved range with higher gain. And I thought that was worth talking about. I may make a video about this. When you're talking about an antenna, higher gain means a more focused signal. So if you think about a flashlight, right? You've got a light bulb in the flashlight, and it's putting out so much light, right? And you may have a reflector in the flashlight that can take you from a wide beam down to a pencil beam, right? But it's focusing the light. The light itself is not getting brighter or dimmer. You're just taking the light and spreading it out, or you're putting it all in one place. And that's what happens with an antenna. An antenna can focus the RF energy that it emits, but only turning up the output power on the actual radio will cause more energy to come out. So when you get a higher gain antenna, it means the signal is more focused. Now, I actually think for FPV, lower gain antennas have an advantage. It depends. Because if you think about it, with an omnidirectional antenna, when you go to higher gain, the signal gets squashed narrower and narrower into a thinner and thinner disc. So a low gain omnidirectional antenna will have a basically spherical coverage pattern, mostly. Pardon me. And then as you get to a higher and higher gain, you'll get a thinner and thinner disc of coverage, and you'll get a weaker sort of null directly above and below the antenna. Well, think about, you got these goggles on your head, and then your head goes like this. Where is the null? Right? And that's why it's such a good idea, if you have omnidirectional antennas, to put them at 90 degrees to each other, so that when one of them has the null pointing straight at the quad, the other one is got its strongest coverage pointing straight at the quad. That's one of the reasons why 90-degree omnis is a good idea. But having a higher gain omni antenna means that you have a bigger null. And when the orientation of the antenna is not guaranteed, that can be a problem. If you go up to a 5 or 7 dB omni antenna, which nobody uses those for FPV, and nobody puts those on their goggles because they would be big. But hypothetically, if you had a 5 or 7 dB omni antenna, the null directly above you would be substantial. And if you duck your head, now the quad, you could have a reduction in range. So the Axie used to be, I forget it, I think it was like 1 point something dB. Now it's 2.2 dB. It's slightly higher dB gain. It's not necessarily going to give you improved range because depending on where your quad is, you could be in the null. However, just to finish up this topic real quick, if you're going with 2 of them, then it's going to give you higher range, because if you have 2 of them at 90 degrees, then you're never going to be in the null. Okay. Mr. Tux wants to know, oh, sorry, no, my bad. My bad. Low gain on the quad, low to mid on the goggles. Yeah, Pavaver is, I basically agree with you there. You want the lowest gain antenna you can get on the quad because the quad's orientation is changing all the time. Low to mid gain on the goggles. However, I did have the thought, what if you had a higher gain antenna on the quad and you aimed the beam of the antenna right through the body of the quad to try and make up for some of the attenuation you get through the body of the quad? I don't actually know if that would be worth the trouble, but it's something you could think about. Scatter FPV wants to know if I have any inside info on the potential release of a Tango V2. I assure you I have no inside info at all from TBS. Trappy is not very happy with me right now or ever. Let's see here. Let's check some super chats real quick. Scott Masterson, thanks for $10, 10 Australian dollars. Dollary dues. Hi Joshua, got a SkyStars G703L running on 6S. The hover point's about 10%. How can I get it higher for ease of landing? Or should I just set up a throttle curve? That's the answer, Scott. I would set up a throttle curve, especially if you do long-range stuff where you're just never going to high throttle. Just clip the throttle. I have a video about how to do that in Betaflight. I have a video about how to do that, Scott. It's this one here. It shows you how to scale your throttle and basically turn your throttle down, and it will bring your hover point up. I'm going to just ping you here, Scott, and paste it in the chat. That's what I would do. You could, in your transmitter, you could set up a throttle curve that gave you the full throttle range, but I'm not sure. If you got a long-distance quad and it's just kind of overpowered, just turn it down. Just turn it down. Just cut the top end. You get longer flights anyway. Chris White, thanks for $2. Picked up my Eagle camera. Thank you, Chris. Benjamin Tarr, thanks for $2. Motivate me to go clean my bench and fix my quad. I can't do it, dude. I'm live streaming. That's what you want to listen to the live stream while you're fixing your quad, right? Yeah. Christian Ole, thank you for 20 Canadian dollars. Hello from Montreal. Copus 2 with Marmot frame. Is it better than the Marmot? I assume you mean the Marmot, the hand-built Marmot from Armatan. That's tough. I personally probably think okay, so the Copus 2 comes with T-motors, and I know that it will make someone from Armatan sad to hear me say it, but I like the T-motors better than the Armatan motors. The Copus 2, the electronics on the Copus 2 are pretty good. I probably would take Copus 2 electronics with a Marmot frame over a Marmot from Armatan. But the build quality on the Armatan Marmot is clearly going to be better. That's like literally just hand-built by their techs as opposed to, well, hand-built by someone in a factory in China, which, I mean, the build quality on the Copus is not bad, but I feel like the Marmot is going to like literally be just touched by an angel. So I probably would take the Copus 2 electronics with a Marmot frame. The motors are better. The flight controller's an F7. I don't know what they're using on their ready-to-flies. Yeah. Chris Romano, thanks for 99 cents. Rafa. Oh, we're caught up now. We're caught up now. Okay, here we go. Props Off wants to know if Diatone put T-motors on their quad. I know Diatone OEMs their own motors, and I think they're Sunny Sky OEM, although I'm not 100% sure. I've just noticed that they kind of look like Sunny Skies to me, so I would be surprised if Diatone put T-motors on their quad, because I'm not sure Diatone would want to pay. I mean, T-motors would demand a real premium, so... Crowley wants to know what the difference is between my motors and Johnny's motors. Well, Johnny's are 2207, mine are 2407, so that's two more. No, they're very different motors. Mine are designed to be sort of bigger and have more torque, so you could run heavier props without compromising handling. Johnny's are smaller, higher KV, probably designed a little bit for lighter props and a more sort of pure freestyle experience. Less for power. That's my guess, just based on the specs of the motors. Johnny's motors I've heard that they're really smooth, but they're a little bit fragile, which is consistent with my perception of Johnny's flying. Like, if you look at Johnny's frame is a really nice little frame, but it is not like a Bando Basher. And Johnny, he flies and he crashes and he has access to a lot of gear. It doesn't feel, from what I see about his gear, like extreme durability is his focus. Some of the folks who've flown Johnny's motors say that they're super, super smooth, but they get banged up pretty quickly and lose that. So maybe my motors are a little more durable. Don't know. Let's see here. GW FPV wants to know what's the best ESC for a Cricket flight controller. Pretty much any 30, 35 amp BLHeli 32 ESC. Just pick one. If you got the Cricket flight controller, it doesn't have a plug. Does it have a plug? Did they add the plug? If it has a plug, you might want to look for an ESC that fits the plug, so you don't have to go rearranging wires. That's nice. Mauk 3? What's a Mauk 3? I think that's a misspelling. Nope, I have no idea. Flying Monkey, if you tell me what a Mauk 3 is, then I'll do my best to help you. I'm going to sneeze here. Dominic Clifton wants to know, what's the best RPM filter compatible 4-in-1? Dominic Clifton, in case you don't know, is Mr. Clean Flight, the developer of the SP Racing H7 Ultimate. Let's just throw that up since he's here. SP Racing H7 Ultimate is that's the F7 Dual. Where's the H7? What am I doing wrong here, Dominic? He was the inventor of Clean Flight, which that by itself would be enough to put him on the map. But then here's the SP Racing H7 Extreme. He didn't stop there. He kept making flight controllers, some of the most advanced flight controllers you can get today. I actually have one that he sent me that I have to put in a quad, which I haven't done yet. Sorry, Dominic. He wants to know what the best ESC for RPM filtering is. The thing is, Dominic, I think any BLHeli32 ESC can run the RPM filter software. You can flash BLHeli to any of those ESCs, so I'm not sure there's a better... I think all BLHeli32 ESCs are compatible with RPM filtering. Maybe UAV Tech, who's in the chat, could help me out with that if he knows the answer. But is there any BLHeli... some flight controllers seem to support it and some don't. But... I think the ESCs, I don't think it matters. I would just pick a good ESC. So my current, best ESC for durability is the T-Motor F55, which every time I do this, I recommend the ESC until I start hearing people tell me that it's failing. And then I go, oh, they got a bad batch, and then I stop recommending it. But for now, the T-Motor F55 is currently the ESC that has yet to disappoint me. I was recommending the Dow engine for a while, and then I had 3 Dow engines in a row fail, and I heard from other people that they were failing. I was like, okay, you're out. And I just move on to the next one. Why am I not recommending my own? Well, because my ESC, it's good. It's cheaper than the T-Motor F55. Is it? I hope it is. And it's pretty good. But when people say, what's an ESC that's just bulletproof? I try to have one in my back pocket, and you're going to pay for that. That's not... Anyway. Somewhere Tyler Brennan is wincing right now because mine is a good ESC at a budget price. T-Motor F55 is a premium ESC at a premium price. There's different price points. Ion FPV wants to know if he should get new goggles, HDOs, or Crossfire. Wow, Ion FPV, here's what I think. If you have goggles right now that you're that's a tough one. Which of those things will make a bigger difference in your day-to-day experience of flying? Because when you go to Crossfire, you just stop thinking about RSSI and failsafe. That's it. You're good. Basically, as long as you're using typical 5 gigahertz video, you just don't think about failsafe anymore. It's just always good, which is nice. But a whole lot of people fly 2.4 gigahertz and don't think about failsafe much either. So maybe the HDOs are the way to go. I think it probably depends on how crappy your current goggles are. That's what I'm going to say. I should put the F55 on my freaking shopping list. I haven't done that yet. Yeah, whoops, my bad. The shopping list is always a couple weeks behind. Everybody in the chat thinks you should get the goggles. The goggles do make a big difference. Having good goggles makes a huge difference in your experience of flying FPV. Going from a crappy little goggle, cheap, crappy, little tiny field of view to a good quality goggle. You're always... It's got to be the goggles. Okay, I take it back. It's got to be the goggles because if you're flying 2.4 gigahertz control, you will figure out about what your range is and you will fly it. And you won't notice that you're constrained. You'll just stay within your bounds. I only started really appreciating Crossfire when I started going on Rotorite trips and like Stingy was flying Crossfire, and he'd be like, I'm going to go fly over that tree over there. And I'm like, all the way over there? And he's like, yeah, what are you talking about? Really? It's so far away. And he'd just fly over to that tree, And I'd be like, how is he? I can't fly that far. And then I was like, I got to get Crossfire. But goggles, you'll just appreciate that every day. You'll notice the difference. So, okay, I admit it. It's the goggles. Mono Man in the Discord says, why choose? Buy both. Yeah, it's only money. Lucas Pudzemis, thank you for 349 euros in the super chat, and asks, Teco 32, are they any good ESC? I like the Teco 32 from Holybro. I think it's a decent ESC. It's OEM'd by Airbot. Airbot actually makes it. It is a decent ESC at an okay price. It works with my flight controller. Works with the Kakute F7, which is one of my favorite flight controllers right now. But like when you're talking about ESCs, there's 3 categories of ESC. One is crap, just explodes if you look at it, like the racer stars that come on the Wizard X220. Like don't buy them at any price if you possibly can avoid them. Then there's this big middle category of like, yeah, they're okay, but they still pop every now and then. And then there's the category of, oh no, these are rock solid, right? Well, the Teco 32 falls in the middle category. Like, I've flown Teco 32 on my Ultimate Freestyle build. Is that right? No, I put my ESC on it. But then later I had to replace one, and I pulled a Teco out and used it. And eventually it popped the FET. So Teco 32 is okay, but not like top of the line. Chamber is reminding me that I did add the F55 to my shopping list. Thank you, Chamber. Oh, how about that? I did. I added it. Good for me. Daniel Latham, thank you for $20. No question. Thank you for $20. Very, very generous donation. Broken Slider, thank you for $7 Canadian. Do you recommend the Acon AK32? Do I recommend in 35 amps? Do I also recommend the 55 amp version? I guess, Broken Slider, I don't have any specific experience with the 55 amp. To be honest with you, when I was working on the shopping list, I asked Ryan Harrell, who knows more about ESCs and motors than almost anybody, I asked him which ones he knew to be pretty solid. And he told me Acon was pretty solid. So the other reason I recommend the Acon is it has to do, I think it has a 5-volt output, which many of them don't. And I think that's one of the reasons it's still on there, is I wanted to have at least one ESC with a 5-volt output. It was originally on there because it had 6S, but yeah, that's why. It's still on there because it has a 5-volt regulator. So the Acon AK32, if I didn't need the 5-volt regulator, I might not be looking so hard at the Acon. If you're looking for a 55 amp ESC, I mean, I would be looking at the T motor. Okay. Alex Evans is using a Mamba F405 and TBS Unify Race V2. Can't get smart audio working. I can bring up the menu, but not change anything once I'm inside it. Alex, when you bring up the smart audio menu, do you see the whole menu, or do you just see -- and StatX? The word StatX. If you just see StatX, that means smart audio is not working. If you see the menu, it means smart audio is working. So that's good. But then why can't you change anything? A lot of people don't know that after you make the changes in the menu, you have to go down to Set and push to the right and set the changes. You don't just exit out and do save and exit. That's a common mistake. Mike Underwood, thank you for $10. No question. Scott Masterson, got you already. We're caught up. Awesome. Okay. Back to the chat. Chamber points out in the Discord that he ran into that with the F45. No 5-volt output. Most ESCs today don't have a 5-volt output. They assume that the flight controller will have the 5-volt regulator. If you're working with a board like the Radix, like the Brain FPV Radix, which I think does it need 5 volts? I might be wrong about that. There are still a few flight controllers out there that need 5 volts and don't have an onboard regulator. And in that case, you might do well to look for an ESC with a built-in 5-volt regulator. But the problem is that the 5-volt regulator on many 4-in-1 ESCs is kind of crappy. Like, they rate it for 2 amps, but really it's not good up to 2 amps. And so I've known people who wouldn't use the 5-volt regulator on their ESC even if it was there, just because they didn't trust it. What voltage do most people run cameras at these days? Asks Dominic Clifton in the chat, and the chat is answering. Personally, I do whatever the flight controller designer intended. For VTXs, I feel strongly about VTXs. Like, pardon me. If there's a 9-volt regulator on the board, I might choose to run the VTX off of VBAT. It depends on how well designed the 9-volt regulator is, but a lot of times, on some of the CL Racing boards, the older CL Racings, the 9-volt regulator was a little sketchy, and if you did a sharp flip or roll, the VTX would brown out. And running the VTX off of VBAT just solves that problem. You just don't have that problem anymore. For cameras, though, I'll probably do whatever. There's usually a power output for the camera, and I'll use whatever they intended, whether that's 5 volts, 9 volts, or whatever. I don't have a strong preference. I do think you get a little bit cleaner video running the camera off of regulated power most of the time, but I just try and keep the wiring simple, at least at the beginning. Let's see here. Flying Monkey says, I'm building a quad with my flight controller. I bought a Mach 3. Where can I solder the positive lead? It likes unfiltered 6S. Flying Monkey, use an ESC positive pad, ESC plus. Just put it right next to or on top of the ESC motor wire, the ESC power wire. Alex Goresh uses the TBS HV 7 volts. Is that better than normal 5 volts? The TBS HV is good down to 7 volts, I think, but just barely. I would hesitate, Alex, to run an HV on a voltage that low. Krishtar wants to know if I'm biased towards TBS products now. What about Trappy's... Oh, okay. What about Trappy's accusation that you never asked TBS about the Arum Polar X Tech? So here's what Krishtar is talking about here. Are there no other questions we can get? There probably are, but okay, here we go. So when I posted my video about me and Alex Grieve testing the Arum Polar antenna, I posted it, and someone posted it to the TBS Lounge and was talking about it, and somebody said, the manufacturer came back and said, well, they added some more information about the antenna. And some people saw that as a rebuke. I didn't see it that way. They said that our result was correct, but I feel like they said it was incomplete, that there was more to the antenna than we saw. Our results were really, couldn't be. Anyway, so somebody said, oh, I hope that puts Joshua Bardwell back in his box. And I thought, hey, until I released this video, me and Alex Grieve just poking around, dicking around, until I did that, nobody could get a straight answer on what this antenna actually was. But then I post a video, and suddenly the manufacturer comes out of the woodwork. Most probably TBS called them and said, hey, will you post its information? And I said, maybe you should thank me instead of saying get back in your box, because now you know more about this antenna than you did but when you woke up this morning. And I said, unfortunately, I can't give you the exact quote because I've been kicked out of the TBS Lounge, so I can't see the comment. But what I remember saying is something like, people like me and Alex were asking for answers about this antenna for months and didn't get them until I post this video. Then suddenly we get information. And Trappy accused me of lying. Now here's what Trappy has. I don't want to speak for him, but I was like, what do you mean lying? He said that I didn't ask him for information. I did argue with him once about whether it was a MIMO antenna. I said, I don't think this is a MIMO antenna. I think this product page is not making sense. And he was like, it is too a MIMO antenna. He said, you didn't ask me for information. You didn't ask me for a statement before you made the video. And you said that you did, and that's a lie. And that's why I'm kicking you out of the TBS Lounge. Well, here's my response to that. Did I send Trappy a certified letter saying, please, here are my questions, please answer them? No, I didn't do that. But what I did is I saw that in the TBS lounge, people were asking questions and discussing the antenna and basically saying, this doesn't make any freaking sense. What's the deal with this antenna? And some of those conversations got shut down. The thread got closed. At least one person, I'm not going to name names because I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I know at least one person got kicked out of the group because they were pressing too hard for information. They were arguing too much. They said, this is not a MIMO antenna. What the hell is going on with this polarization claim? And after arguing with them for a while, the conversation was shut down. So when I went to make a video about this, I knew that TBS's position was shut up. Because I had seen people ask the kind of questions I would ask and have the kind of discussions I would want to have, and they didn't get answers. They got shut down. So no, I didn't ask TBS for, but I saw other people do it and not get answers. So if TBS is, and I'm not saying that they are, but if TBS's position is, if Joshua Bardwell had asked us for comment, we would have given it. Oh, but we kicked out all these other people and told them, basically shut them down. Okay, well, I don't want that. So, am I biased towards or against TBS products? No. I mean, Crossfire is amazing. I have a Unify in all of my personal freestyle builds. I do not run the Arum Polar on my goggles. I run the Luminaire Axie. I like TBS products. I have never let the fact that sometimes Trappy and I butt heads stop me from using and recommending good products. At the end of the day, I am accountable to you. You guys pay my bills. I don't work for TBS. I don't work for anybody. Via my Patreon, via affiliate links, via Super Chat donations, I work for you guys. And so if Crossfire is a good product, and it is, then I'm going to recommend it to you because that's how we succeed together. So. And in the end, I'd like to say, I turned out to be right. And me, not just me, other people, me and all the other RF guys who looked at these antennas and said, these do not make sense for FPV. We turned out to be right. The manufacturer of the antenna did not realize that our FPV systems were not MIMO systems. Trappy was right. He said this was a MIMO antenna, and I said it's stupid to call it a MIMO antenna when FPV is not a MIMO radio system. If it is a MIMO antenna, it's not suited to use for FPV, but I think it's misleading marketing to call it a MIMO antenna when we don't really do MIMO. Well, it turns out that it is a MIMO antenna. It's intended for use in a digital MIMO system, and since FPV isn't that, it's not the best application for that. Zoe FPV says, though, the Arum makes sense if you were to release a digital FPV system soon. Aha! Now, Zoe FPV may be onto something. If TBS was to be working in the background on a digital FPV system, then the Arum Polar antenna could be perfect for it. I don't know. I don't know why I'm winking at you. I don't know anything. I really don't. The Trappy certainly wouldn't tell me about that. It's not the best antenna for, especially in high multipath environments. It's not the best antenna for FPV. Okay, now what are you guys saying in the chat about this topic? Anyway, Pat Nolan wants to know if digital will be too laggy. It's possible, Pat Nolan, to do low latency digital. It hasn't been done well yet. It may be done soon. I don't know. Drone Shots wants to know what's a good receiver for the Diatone R349. I like the RXSR is what I put in mine. I put it, so I struggled to find a place to put it. I ended up putting it right here. It's kind of, you can't see it really. Maybe you can. It's right in front of the flight control stack on the base plate behind the camera. That's where I put it. And then I put the antennas off the front arms. That's where I put mine. Trappy does not... I mean, TBS has a YouTube channel. If you want to hear Trappy rant, they do a live stream, the TBS Couch live stream over on their Facebook page. I think it's weekly. I'm not 100% sure. Alex Goresh, the TBS Unify Pro HV does run on 7 volts, but the thing is, if the regulator slips even a little, you're right at the bottom of the line, and I would worry about that. If it works, it works. That's the bottom line. Can a bad PDB make all your motors hot? Lamont12373 has been trying to get me to answer this question all chat, and I just kind of, haven't gotten to it. But now Lamont has resorted to asking Zoe FPV, and I'm like, hey, I'll get your question. No, anybody can answer questions. Can a bad PDB make your motors hot? I don't think so. No. What makes motors hot is motors being over-propped, especially if you have a small quad. Making the quad too heavy or putting too aggressive props on the motors can make them hot, or having excess vibration or video noise. Those are some things that can help. I don't think a PDB is likely to make your motors hot. Max Beamer, thanks for $2. Power to the people, says Max. A dark thin line in the Discord asks, I have a Unify Draco. Uvify Draco. It's DSMX and Turnigy specific receiver. Can I change it to Crossfire? A dark thin line, you probably can change it to Crossfire because, well, maybe not. So Crossfire can output Crossfire protocol from the receiver, but it can also output SBus. It can even output PPM or PWM. So the problem is you have a Spectrum receiver, and I'm not sure that it can output Spectrum. I don't actually know the answer to that. It might be able to. If the Uvify Draco takes Spectrum receiver and Crossfire can output the DSMX protocol, then it's a drop-in replacement. It may not be able to make it to work. I don't know the answer to that. It depends on the protocols they support. Mike Underwood sent a super chat. I don't see a super chat from you, Mike, but it doesn't really matter. Just make sure my super chats are working right. Mike Underwood says, my Tyrannus has a good amount of switches set up with audio via play track and special functions. I love Amber's sexy voice as much as the next guy. Does she have to read out every one of the different tracks every time I power on the radio? Oh, Mike, I know the answer to you. I know the answer for this, Mike. Amber reading out the special function tracks right when you turn on. So what you need to do, hang on, I know the answer. In special functions, you want to change the number, this right-hand column here where it says how many times does it play? What is the answer? No. Oh, phooey, Mike. I know the answer. I can't remember it. I've forgotten. What's the answer? I think it's not 1x, Mike. You see how... Oh, you can't see this, Mike. It's exclamation point 1x. I think if you set the playback to exclamation point 1x, it will play when you pull the switch, but not when you turn the radio on. I think that's it, Mike. Pav Alvarez in the chat threatened to send me a pizza earlier. That would be a waste of everyone's time. I think Pav Alvarez was also the one who was Skyping me. So, any chance Dominic wants to know if I could do more live drawings in my videos on whiteboards or whatever. Here's the challenge, Dominic. I used to have a laptop that had a touch screen, and I would do live drawings and stuff. The challenge is that the production time of my videos. I need to make videos very efficiently because I make so many videos, and I don't have graphics. I don't have the time or skill to make graphics. So I would just do these little dumb drawings on a whiteboard. But since I don't have a touch laptop anymore and I don't have a pen tab or anything, I just don't find myself doing that as much. There you go. Yeah. Fahua FPV wants to know if I fly my Beast Class often. I don't fly my Beast Class often. The Beast Class is not a quad I would fly every day just because crashes are so expensive. It's more of a demonstration thing. I will be bringing the Beast Class to I.O. with me and hopefully flying it there. But no, I don't fly it often. Dave Opie wants to know something about Pixhawk, Ardupilot, mission control. Dave, I'm sorry to say that I don't know the first freaking thing about Pixhawk. I acknowledge your question. I cannot answer it. I don't know the first thing about Pixhawk. I just do acro stuff. Krishtar wants to know what happened to Final Glide. I don't know. Pav Alvarez says Final Glide is messaging him. He says seems to be well connected. Ask Pav what happened to Final Glide. I don't know the answer to that. He left Rotor Riot. He went back to Australia. I don't know his details. He's still around. Zoe FPV wants to know when she can fly at my house. Zoe, you're welcome anytime. Just make sure I'm here. You know, when you get here. If I'm on a trip, it'll be kind of awkward for you. Yeah, come on. Come on, girl. Are you still traveling the country in your RV? Rustbox says it's such a shame Ardupilot, the best software so far, has not been used much by this community. Well, how does Ardupilot fly as an acro? Like, clearly Betaflight flies better, right? Or Flight 1 or whatever. Troy Askew, thank you for $10 in the super chat. Please make a how-to of Nirvana to R9MM. I could do that. I do have an R9 setup video. I mean, the Nirvana, is it that different? Maybe, Trey. I appreciate the $10 donation regardless. Mr. Savage wants to know, would I recommend a Pagoda or linear antenna for VTX? Pagoda for sure. If you do go with a Pagoda, you're going to want to make sure it's a durable one. The Pagoda is a very, very good antenna design, but it's very, very sensitive to the alignment of the plates. And these naked Pagodas with no shell or anything, the minute you crash, the plates get misaligned and the signal goes all to heck. I mean, it still works, so I would prefer it. But linear, I mean, a circular antenna is almost always going to beat a Pagoda, especially a circular antenna is almost always going to beat a linear, especially in a challenging RF environment with lots of multipathing. CM Reaper wants to know about flight times on Beast Class. The Beast Class flight times depend a lot on the throttle position you're hitting. When I'm doing my PID tuning where I'm just tooling around the yard, I can get 5 or 7 minutes. That's on there's no perspective on that. Mine is not Beast Class mine's Beast Class, not X Class, so it's a little bit lighter. It's a 4,000 milliamp hour 12S. I'm sure when you're pushing it, it gets shorter, but you think when you hear that it has a 4,000 milliamp hour 12S, you're going to get like 27 minutes flight time. It's not like that. The quad is so big and powerful that you get flight times more proportional to what you get with mini quads. Charles Johnson wants to know what would be a good first freestyle quad. Funny you asked that, Charles Johnson. I have the Ultimate FPV shopping list. Thank you for giving me a chance to plug it. And on the Ultimate FPV shopping list, it's fpvknowitall.com. Here it is in the chat. I've got a section, Best Ready-to-Fly Drones. This is a tough page. One of my goals with the shopping list is to not overwhelm you with too many options. So there are so many good ones out there. I picked a few that I think these are some of the best, but they're not. You're thinking of a good one that's not on the list, and that's just because I want to keep it simple. But in the ready to fly category, a good starter would probably be the Aris X220 with either a QX. I would probably recommend the QX7. So that's a good one. Aris X220 is a pretty solid quad, and the QX7 is a very solid radio. and the price is $300. So for $300, you get a half decent quad. You get a really decent radio. This radio, you could fly this radio for the rest of your life and never need to upgrade. You might upgrade, but that's a good one, and it comes ready to fly. If you just want to get in the air as cheap as possible, a good thing to look at is the Tiny Hawk Ready to Fly bundle. This is literally everything you need to get in the air for $165. Now, it's a little micro quad, right? So if you're thinking 5-inch, this isn't what you want, but it will teach you to fly. And this little Tiny Hawk will stay fun to fly even after you graduate to 5 inches. You'll still get this guy out and rip it around the room. You'll upgrade the you'll outgrow this transmitter pretty quickly though. So those are some things. Charles Johnson, a good bind and fly, Charles. Good bind and fly. I mean, the Hawk 5 is a really good quad, really good racing quad. The Copus, the Holybrook Copus is another good freestyle quad if you're looking at 5 inches. Cruise Star wants to know, is it still worth it to screw around with black box logging for PID tuning nowadays? I think Cruise Star black box logging is most useful for tuning of filters and troubleshooting of problems. But unless you're one of the like a real black box nerd who's going to be looking at like PID response and PID error and really trying to dial in your tune to the nth degree, no. You can't really tune filters without black box, not very effectively. But for actual PID tuning, I mean, I just make these really rough tweaks and the quad usually flies fine. Okay. Let's see here. Why don't I fly the Beast class again? Gustavo, it's just, I mean, I just haven't gotten back to tuning it, to be honest with you. I'm actually not 100% sure if I should change the motors on it, to be honest with you. The way the arm was dipping when I did the last PID tuning video makes me think the motor may, I mean, you just swap a motor, but the freaking motors are $100. And so I'm kind of like, I've just set it aside and I'm doing other things and not thinking about it. Yeah. Any more luck flying 3D since my last video? Zoe FPV asks. Zoe, of course, is the queen of 3D. No, I made the video and then I kind of moved on. It was just, I just set it up with the little Mobula. I haven't played with it anymore. Zoe should come do a 3D video with me. How about that? Too Fast for You wants to know, how do you set filters back to default without resetting PIDs? Here's what I would suggest. It's going to go down to the CLI, as you might expect. Like, there may be a way to do it in the GUI, but here's what I would do. So in the CLI, what you're going to need to do is, if you type profile, it shows your current PID profile, and my current PID profile is profile 0, which is actually profile 1 because programmers like to count from 0. So let's say profile 0, I want to reset the filter. So let's just do dump all and show. So here are my rate profiles. Where's my profiles? So here are my profiles, okay? So let's say profile 0, I want to reset the filters. Well, if I'm lucky, profile 1 or profile 2, I never touched it. And those are already at default. So what I can do is I can take profile 2 and I can grab all this stuff, right? Copy it. And then I'm going to start Notepad and just paste that stuff in. And I'm going to look through it and see if I'm going to find all the filter related stuff. So D-term low pass, that's all filters. VBAT, PID gain, PID at min throttle, anti-gravity. That's not filter related, so let's take that stuff out. Feed forward, crash threshold, I-term relax. None of that is filters. Acro trainer limit. Here are my PIDs. That's not filters. Where is the filters? Where are they? Absolute control. Wait a minute. Where's the gyro filters? D-term low pass. Where's the gyro filter? Where's the... how am I missing this? Am I wrong about that? Logan Rollins says only D-term filtering is in the profile. Gyro filter, dynamic filter. Is that all in the... That doesn't make any sense. He says gyro filter is not in the PID profile. That really surprises me, but okay. Oh, you're right. Here's master. That's the gyro stuff. Well, I guess you're screwed then. Okay, you're screwed. So since all the filter data is not in the profile, then how do you reset it? Okay, well, I would go there and copy that stuff out. Now you've got it backed up. So for example, now you've got your PIDs backed up. And then what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go into PID tuning and you're going to have to reset profile values. So after you reset the profile values, you can go into the CLI and you can paste your PIDs back in. But I guess there's not any other easy way. Yeah, good point. Well, Logan Rollins, no, you can't change any of the PID profile values mid-flight. You can only do it via stick commands. So there you go. I did not know that gyro filters were not profile dependent, but thank you guys for helping me figure that out. Let's see here. Is Betaflight 4.0 recommended yet, or are there still too many issues? Betaflight 4.03 is solid. 4.02 is solid. 4.03 had a couple little bug fixes. The issues about overheating, I think it's because in Betaflight 4.0, they turned on the warning OSD element by default. It was off by default before. And one of the warnings is when your flight controller chip gets hotter than it wants to be. I don't think Betaflight 4.0 is overheating anything. I just think people had hot chips before and didn't know it because the warning was off. Betaflight is not overheating the chips, I don't think. Personally, I just turned that warning off. Have I seen the video from Flight 1 showing the TBS MIMO almost the same with Clearview perform? Is truth? I don't know about that. I can't speak to that test. All I can say, Ronnie, is that according to the company that manufactured the antenna, posted on Facebook, oops, we thought FPV used beamforming in MIMO. We didn't realize that it didn't use that. This is a MIMO antenna. Maybe Clearview is... I mean, no, it doesn't matter. Because people say, well, maybe the receiver is doing some kind of MIMO stuff. The transmitter has to be involved. You can't do MIMO reception with a single output transmitter like we're using. A VTX that we use is single output. So you cannot do MIMO with a single output transmitter. You would need a different kind of video transmitter. I'm not saying that TBS Arum antenna is not good. I'm just saying that it is designed for a different application. And if it happens to be good in this application, then okay, but I'm kind of surprised because the whole point of that Arum antenna is that it receives both left-hand and right-hand polarization, and that's not what we want for FPV. I would be surprised to see a blind test where the Arum antenna beat a similar... an antenna of similar gain and beam width, which was just like left-hand polarized or right-hand, whatever the matching polarization of the quad. So I haven't seen that video. Yeah. So. Any thoughts on a good camera that would fit the Armatan Rooster? Running rapid fire. Here they are. Oh, it's not a bot. It's just someone who really likes emojis. Okay. Any thoughts on a good camera that would fit the Armatan Rooster? Well, what I would do is I would use your favorite micro camera, and I would just use an adapter, which is like this thing. Hang on. Runcam micro camera adapter. No, how about bracket? There we go. Yeah. So Runcam makes this little thing here. It's a bracket that adapts a micro camera to a full size. And I would just take your favorite micro camera and then put it in this. All the good cameras today are micro cameras. There's just fewer and fewer full-size cameras. So if you have a Rooster, pick your favorite micro and use this. Logan Rollins says, I hate those adapters in a Rooster. The metal cage vibrates and those things break every time. That's true, Logan. That is one of the problems with the Rooster and the Chameleon TI front end. And they fixed that with the Marmot by putting the camera on these little aluminum brackets to give it some flex. The thing is, if you use a full-size camera in a Rooster or Chameleon TI, then the case of the camera will break. So yes, if you use those little plastic micro adapters, they eventually do break. They wear out. And then you replace it. It's not the end of the world. But if you were to use just a full-size camera, then eventually the camera case would break, and that would kind of be more annoying. Revolution Nova wants to know if the Luminaire Gatebreaker prop is any good with a freestyle quad at 630 grams. The Gatebreaker is actually a really good prop, fairly durable, in the 5-inch size for sure. Yes, I think it's a good prop. It doesn't see... Why doesn't it see more use? I don't know. It's a pretty solid prop. I've actually been really impressed with a Gatebreaker prop running on a 2206 Luminaire motor, which 2206 is not a big motor by today's standards, not ultra torquey, not ultra powerful, and yet that quad flew amazing. So I do think the Gatebreaker is a good prop. A little aggressive for some motors, maybe. A little bit high amp draw. Alep FPV wants to know if he should get the Session 5 or the Runcam 5. Well, I mean, the Session 5 is a better camera. There's no question. It says ProTune. It has Super View. It has better image quality. There's just, I mean, but the Session 5 is more expensive than a Runcam 5. So, I mean, more expensive things are better. Go figure. Let's see here. Yeah, the thing is the Session's harder and harder to find. So, what's my opinion of the Caddx Tarsier? I hope to test the Caddx Tarsier eventually. People who have used the Tarsier are pretty impressed with it. I think the same thing is true for all of these cameras, like the Caddx Tarsier, the Caddx... what's the other one? The Caddx. The Runcam Split. Pardon me. The thing is that even when these cameras put out a good image, it's not like tweakable like an image from a proper HD camera. There's minimal steps to tweak them, and you're certainly not going to get something like ProTune out of it, which has a flat color profile that you can color grade and adjust the exposure and do all these things that pros want. So I don't think a Tarsier will ever fully replace a GoPro, but even other HD cameras struggle to replace a GoPro. I do think, especially when you're down in like the 3-inch size, cameras like the Tarsier, which produce very good results, if not maybe exactly the result you would want. I mean, they allow you to get high def, and that's better. The big problem with them, though, is the vibration. So many people who fly microquads have written to me and said, because we always look at the image quality from cameras like the Tarsier, like the Runcam Split, the Caddx Turtle, there it was, thank you. We always look at the image quality from them. So many people have reached out to me and said that they have issues with jello or vibration because the camera's mounted right there on the frame. And that vibration is present when you're using a regular FPV camera, but the shitty video doesn't actually let you see it. What you've got a GoPro, which is mounted in a different way. That's something that people really struggle to fix with these high-definition cameras. Austin AME wants to know if you're using the new TBS antenna that Alex made. That's the TBS Triumph Pro. It doesn't say whether it's left or right-handed. Well, it's definitely circular polarized. See, it says, the next revolution in circular polarization technology. Let's see. precise circular pattern that is not distorted by proximity to your aircraft or other objects. That's an interesting claim. So it's got to be left or right-handed. Yeah, see, look right here. Left-hand gain, right-hand gain. The left-hand gain is really small. I'm going to guess that the right-hand gain is overlapping the green line. I'm going to guess. I don't know the answer to that. Negative 105 dB. Yeah. See, look, the left-hand gain is down around negative 32. The right-hand gain is at 1.63. And the total gain is at 1.63. So this is a right-hand polarized antenna. That's actually really good axial ratio, too. The fact that the left-hand gain is so freaking small and the right-hand gain just basically completely matches the total gain. I'm going to assume this is a projection, not a actual measurement like in an anechoic chamber. But this is a very, Alex Grieve, of course, very good antenna designer. Yeah. So if you want to buy a TBS antenna, get the new Triumph Pro. Don't get the TBS Arum. There you go. This seems like a good antenna. Huh. Okay. But I think what we're seeing here is this is right-handed. So do they have a left-handed version? Don't know about that. Okay. Thank you, Austin AME in the Discord. Yeah, so it just looks, Austin, like they don't have a left-handed version yet based on that plot. Pat Nolan, no, Pat Nolan's, here's the thing. Pat Nolan says, get the popcorn ready. JB's going to test these claims. No, Pat, I mean, for an antenna like that, it's pretty obvious. What it says it's going to do is not that radical. It's just a really well-designed right-hand circular antenna. Alex Grieve can churn those out all day long, no question. The reason that there was so much scrutiny paid to the Arum antenna is that the claims they were making kind of didn't make sense. Like, you know, on an airplane, there's a thing called the stall speed, and if the airplane goes below that speed, then the wing doesn't make enough lift, and the plane sort of falls, okay? So if somebody was selling you a car and they said, yeah, the stall speed is 60 knots, you'd be like, what do you mean? They're like the stall speed, you know, where it loses lift. Like, a car doesn't have a wing, it doesn't have a stall speed. They're like, yeah. You'd like go, well, I don't think this guy knows what he's selling. I think there's some confusion here. And that's what happened with the Arum polar antenna. The claims they were making didn't sort of make sense. It's like if you were talking about an airplane, they would have made sense, but we're talking about a car. And so a lot of people were very sort of like scrutinizing it and going, what's really going on here? There was just a whiff of something. But the SMA... stubby, good antenna, no problem. Is Session 5 worth the upgrade from a first-gen GoPro session? That's a tough one, King Troopa. The first-gen GoPro session does 1080-60, and it does Super View, and it does ProTune Flat, I'm pretty sure. It's a really decent camera for $100. I would almost take a Hero 4 session over like a Runcam 5. Almost, maybe. Is it worth an upgrade? You're going to pay basically $200 to get a Session 5 today. Maybe more, because now that they've gotten more rare, the price is going up. I wouldn't pay more than $200 for a Hero 5 Session today. I don't think I would do it. And I've seen them for as much as $300. You could almost get a GoPro 7 for $300. So because Session 5s are getting more expensive, I probably wouldn't upgrade to a GoPro session, a Hero 4 session to a Session 5. If I could get a Hero 5 for $200, I might think about upgrading my Hero 4, because the Hero 5 it has 2.7K, which I think is a little better for FPV. Yeah, maybe for $200. Let's see here. Krishtar wants to know if I've made a video about filter tuning. I want to throw you guys over to UAV Tech on YouTube. Mark Spatz, UAV Tech, is really knowledgeable about filters and PIDs. And he is doing a video series right now about Betaflight PID tuning. If I were to make a video right now about PID tuning, I would just take the quad out, fly it, and talk about what you should be looking at when, what the quad does in the air. He's going the other direction. He's going deep, deep into black box. And you can see right here, like, here is a video on filter tuning. So if you want a video about filter tuning, my friend, this is it. And I'll paste it into the chat for you so you can go ahead and get that. That's where I would go, Krishtar. Mr. Duels wants to know, I put my session on the drone. It records for a few seconds and stops and freezes. A most likely thing, Mr. Duels, is your SD card is messed up. Try replacing the SD card with a new one. If that doesn't do it, the camera may just be done. Crashed too many times. Krishtar wants to know if I would upgrade from the Session 5 to the Hero 7 Black. Well, I mean, sure. And in fact, I'm going to do that eventually. When I finish crashing my Session 5s and I don't have any more, Hero 7 Black is where I'm going to go next. It's going to be a sad, sad day. They're way more expensive. You do buy the insurance on them, but you just the money up front to get them. And they break a lot more because they're bigger and heavier, and they're heavier. So I will be moving to the Hero 7 Black eventually. If you're a pro pilot wanting to do serious, like, if you're serious about getting the best video quality, the Hero 7 Black is just the one to get. It's just the best. It's the most flexible. It's the most controllable. It gives you the most that you can do in post, and it just has really, really excellent image quality right out of the box. It's $400. It's $300 or whatever it is. It's freaking expensive. So if you're not a pro, you're going to be looking at other things, which can give good results. But Inigo wants to know if I've noticed any odd flight behavior when using 22XX stator size motors and Betaflight 4.0. This is the thing you're talking about. Kebab said there was some issue. I have no idea what Kebab is talking about. I don't think it's possible that in general Betaflight could have a problem with 22 sized motors. I don't know what Kebab was actually trying to say when he said that, but it can't be that. I don't know what it is. So no, I have not noticed anything like that. Jimmy Thompson, thank you for $2. What about the Insta360 from DJI? Is that from DJI? Oh no, that's a cool camera. Yes. Now that is a cool camera, Jimmy. So this is the Insta360 1X, which is a 360-degree camera. I hope I can find a video to show you guys. This is a different thing. I mean, this is a 360 camera. It's great for what it does, but I don't know if it would be like my primary FPV camera. Now, the cool thing the Insta360 does is this. Check this out. Do you see that she's holding a selfie stick in her hand? But you can't see the selfie stick. It just looks like the camera's floating in midair. It has software that will remove the selfie stick from the video, so that it just looks like it's floating in midair. You never see it. It's so freaking cool. People mistake. And do you see that camera move there? In post, you can see. Look, this guy right here, or this woman, I can't tell which, is holding the selfie stick, but you can barely see it. Just looks like the camera's floating. And in post, they didn't move the camera. It's a 360 camera, so they did that camera move in post. It's just recording 360 and stabilizing itself dynamically. Just do this whole 360 move. This is so freaking cool. I wish I rode a motorcycle or went base jumping or did anything that would make it worth... Oh, here's a drone. It's so cool. I don't think it's going to ever replace a GoPro for like high quality, recording, but it is pretty freaking cool. Anyway, that's the Insta360 1X. There you go. Did Nurk put one on his quad? Probably. I mean, I do think you could get some cool video by putting one on your quad. I just don't think it's ever going to fully replace like a GoPro. I don't know. Maybe. Nurk has Insta360 vids, the chat's telling me. Gotcha. Yeah, let's see what we got here. Yeah, with that form factor, you can't crash. Fahua FPV points out. Yeah, it's going to be bad news if you crash and break it. Team Cookers, thanks for $5. I bet I missed you there. Why am I only getting... Sorry it took me so long to get back to you there, dude. Team Cookers, why am I getting 41 RSSI on my OSD? Telemetry's working to my QX7 for the record. So Team Cookers, I would suggest you check out my RSSI in OSD video, which goes through all the steps that you need in order to set up RSSI in the OSD with FreeSky. I assume you're using FreeSky. If you're using Crossfire, I have a separate video, LQ and RSSI in OSD. The first thing I would check is check the aux channel that you're using and make sure that the aux channels, when you're close to the receiver, it should show 2000. When you get further from the receiver, it should go down. And that will verify that the aux channel is moving correctly and the transmitter is configured correctly. If you want to reach out to me via email, Team Cookers, I will try to help you solve that a little more hands-on. Thomas Adams, thanks for your $10 donation. Thanks for your help getting me into FPV. And Mike Underwood also gave $10. I think I got your question from the Discord, Mike. Okay. Zach Arthur wants to know if I run the new RPM filter on any of my quads. Zach, I tested the RPM filter a while back because I wanted to make a video about it. I wanted to get the word out there that it existed, and I wanted to try it out. I often don't spend a lot of energy testing in development stuff because I test it and then it changes. And my goal is usually to make content. My goal is more to make content than to have an experience for myself. So if there's this feature of Betaflight that's changing every week, I don't want to make a video about it because the video is just going to be out of date. And then I'm going to spend the next 6 months telling people that the video is out of date, or I got to take the video down and then it was a waste of time to make it. So I'm waiting for RPM filtering to be in Betaflight 4.1, and then I will test it and do videos about it. But right now I'm not testing it out. Inigo says, Josh, you have your own FC. Have you expressed interest in developing your own ESC? Inigo? I hate to tell you this, dude. I have an ESC too. Yeah, okay. What does RSSI actually mean, asks License to Drive. Stands for Received Signal Strength Indicator, and it means signal strength. So the stronger your signal, the better your link, the higher your RSSI. On FreeSky, an RSSI of around 40 to 45 is where you start to see failsafes begin to happen. RSSI above about 45 on FreeSky, and failsafes shouldn't really start happening. If you have another system and you're wondering about the RSSI, you can just like set your quadcopter down and then walk away or drive away. Watch the RSSI go down and watch where you start to get failsafes. And you can figure it out for yourself. But for FreeSky, that number is about 40 or 45. And the units for RSSI should be dB or dBm. But I'm willing to bet that the FreeSky, like the RSSI number you're seeing, which goes from like, I think it's more like a percent. And that percent is arbitrarily pegged to some dBm value, but you don't actually know the dBm. They don't really show you that. Let's see here. All right, guys. Whew. Here we go. Wow, 2 hours just flew by. Thank you guys so much for showing up for the live stream. And thanks to everybody who asked questions. Kyle Straight, good question. Do you think filming in 4K is worth it? Kyle, I know a couple pro pilots who shoot in 4K, but very few people publish in 4K. Most people who publish are publishing in 1080 or 2.7K just because of bandwidth. And even if you publish in 4K, how many people are watching on a 4K screen? So some people shoot in 4K. It does give you a little bit more room to crop in, for example. I think for FPV, most people will be well served by 1080 or 2.7K. There's not a lot of, because if you're shooting a studio, you shoot in 4K, and if you need to crop in 30% to get the presenter's head or to get like some piece of equipment out of the shot, great. But for FPV, how often do you do that? You want a really wide field of view for FPV. You're seldom going to need to crop in you seldom need that extra resolution. So it just makes gigantic files. That's the big reason I don't shoot in 4K. The files are freaking enormous. And it's just editing 4K is hard. So Mr. Tux and others are pointing out 4K on YouTube looks better than 1080 because YouTube gives 4K a higher bitrate. You are correct, but just shoot in 1080 or 2.7, render in 4K, and then upload to YouTube. You don't have to shoot in 4K to render in 4K. So if you want to take advantage of that, but I personally think the sweet spot for YouTube is also 2.7K. So I output 2.7K from, when I shoot FPV videos, I output in 2.7K, 30 or 60 frames per second, depending on what it was recorded in. And I use, like 25 megabit per second is my target usually, maybe higher, 35 or 40. I upload it to YouTube and that's what I get. But I almost never shoot in 4K because the files are so enormous and I seldom need that extra resolution. Also, worth keeping in mind, like I don't have that GoPro numbers in front of me, but hypothetically, your camera might use 60 megabits per second for 2.7K and 80 megabits per second for 4K. You're going to get better looking video on 2.7K because the bits per pixel is higher, the megabits per second per pixel is higher. So for slow moving video, you may get better results on 4K because you don't need that high bit rate, but 2.7K may give you a better bit rate as well. So, okay, we're going to finish up. Thank you to everybody who showed up. Thank you to all my patrons in the Discord. If you want to join my Discord server, if you want to help support me, there's a link to my Patreon page down in the video description. Please do check that out. You can also use my affiliate links at the bottom of my videos and at fpvknowitall.com, which is my ultimate FPV shopping list website, among others. Using those affiliate links before you make any purchase at an affiliated vendor, just click the link, then do your shopping. I get a small commission when you do that. You buy things anyway. Just click the link. Click my affiliate link. Go do your shopping. I get a small commission. It really helps me out. It's an easy way for you to support me without costing yourself anything. Thank you to all the super chats here as well. That's going to do it. I stream every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern and Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's when I do my live streams. I hope to see you there. We're going to close this one out, though. Thanks, everybody. Happy flying.